Hi, I'm AJ Bieber. I've been doing Total Human Reset since 2022. And there's a reason I've been doing the Total Human Reset for so many years and look forward to it every year. And it's because I get such incredible results that I haven't gotten out of other programs. So I'll give you an example. For myself, I've gotten into programs, and the hardest part isn't the starting it for me. Like, I'll get the package, I'll follow everything to a T. That's just my personality. But the hardest part is getting about 2, 3 weeks in and not seeing any change. And if you've ever been through something like that, I'm sure you understand what that feels like. So when I came into Total Human Reset, the first time I was a little nervous because I had been through these programs before. But the difference was when I went through the container and I was motivated in the beginning, that motivation stayed with me on a constant throughout the entire program. And I was seeing results. So there's something about knowing the frequency of the food, knowing the frequency of the workout, knowing the frequency of what Moz brings from the XI community that was like this holistic approach that truly changed who I am as a person and my energy levels and how it is my body was even transforming. So I saw those results, and that's the reason I stick with it. That's the reason I look forward to it every year. And I can't wait for the changes that are coming this year. So thanks so much, guys, for continuing this program. We appreciate you. I'm AJ Bieber.
Good morning, evening, afternoon. Masada here. Welcome back to day 2 of the summit, the Total Human Reset Summit. Now, there are so many comments coming in, and I don't have that access right now, but Alex, read me some of those comments, would you? Hopefully you could hear that, but basically, could they hear that, Alex? Okay, so what the comment said, and again, look it up. We'll post it up. Last night he came up with his mission, vision, business plan after listening to just the day 1 seminar. Pretty crazy. More and more comments like that. Yeah, these aren't miracles. They're just straight out science. Is if you can access the level of intelligence that we talked about, a lot of things show up. A lot of things show up so immediately. When truth hits you, well, it's amazing how fast you can transform. It's amazing how fast you can heal. And this is the construct. This is the concept of what the THR Summit is about. And what THR, the 90-day program, is about. Again, the 90-day program is on regeneration and rejuvenation, becoming healthier. Okay, so if you're interested in that part, when you sign up, just check that box that you're interested, and we'll go deeper into how you can help further along the scientific studies of what we're doing here. All right, so what? Oh, awesome. Oh, while I'm reading this is awesome. Alex, throw my picture on, would you? The before and after. So I'll read this. Yeah. Okay. All right. Is that picture on? My picture? Oh, okay. So just some technical glitches, but did you see my picture? That was, I think, a 10 or 12-year difference. Crazy, right? Over 12 years, I actually aged younger. Today, I'm 65. I just got back some blood tests, again, of a lot younger man. And it's really, really amazing what can happen. Comment in on a lot of you that have transformed like this as well, right? It's, I know it's very, very new science, and I know it's like everywhere you go, it's like, well, where's the proof? Where's the proof? Well, there is no clinical studies yet, but there have been 100,000 client sessions, people just like you transforming, just like a lot of you have, right? These are real people, real transformations. They aren't clinical studies where everything had to be perfect for that drug to work, for that situation to work. No, these are live studies with actual people, right? Every normal day-to-day people going through whatever they go through. And they've amassed amazing fortunes. They've created a lot of success in all aspects of their life. Again, raising all those pillars together. That's really, really the key in life. We're going to go deeper here. Feels like I went through multiple lifetimes of reset in one day since yesterday's THR Summit. All right. And then SM, why am I not seeing these results? Actually, some of you, there's a few of you that might not see the results, and I'll give you, and just to tap into SM, you actually are seeing a lot of results. But what happens for you I wasn't going to read people, but I'll just read people, just to show you my abilities. And maybe later on, I can read a few people. But SM, for you, why am I not seeing these results? Actually, you are. You've actually transformed. That's why you're on this summit. What happens to you? Your reference points move along with you. If you look at your life, literally catalog your life from, say, a year ago, you'll see a lot of things have changed. This is what a lot of people who go, well, I don't see the results. But then, they have a session with me and I go, well, this changed. Yeah. And this changed. Yeah. And this changed. And you're acting this way. It's like, yeah, those are a lot of changes. So for you, honey, specifically for you, look at it. Okay. Look at journal dialogue. So when I talk about your references, say, didn't change, imagine that you're on, okay? You're on a cruise. And you went from Miami to, hell, I don't know, Greece. Right? You went from Miami to Greece. But all you did was you looked inside the ship. You did not look at all on, say, your external life. And then you go, well, nothing's changed. Well, that's the deal. Nothing's changed because your reference point moved along, although it's 1,000 or 2 miles. So if you start looking outside and you start looking at your reference points, you'd see a lot of changes, right? Okay. So if there's other questions like that, and as a note, some other, summits or anything that, they always tell you the positives, right? I just lay it out like it is. Okay. All righty. So the key is that, this works. Just like anything, though, you have to do the results. You have to do the psychological work. And that's why, like I said yesterday, Tony Robbins, Joe Dispenza, all those fantastic individuals, they allow you to do the mechanics. I can't force you to transform and change. Some people will go, well, I listened to the hyper meditations and then, I didn't do anything about it. And then my life didn't work. Well, again, for example, the guy that said he got with his business investments and everything came to mind, right? Well, he got the download, the action steps now you have to take physically. Otherwise, you're going to still be in the same hole as you are. That's the key. I can't do that for you. You have to. THR it's going to kick your ass. You're going to have to do the physical things once you get motivated. Once you get the download, you have to take action. I can't do that for you because it'd be against free will. Okay. Many of you, especially unfortunately, the spiritual aspect, the spiritual individuals, they're always waiting for something to come into them. Okay. All right. You're always waiting for something to happen to show you something, and it doesn't work that way. Um, yeah, yeah. Okay. This one, Masada, you're leading by example, and all your events are a great investment because once we go, that's all we can take with us to the other side. Absolutely. I've healed from ADHD, depression, anxiety, Skylight, Sunstar, lots of ideas, possibilities, and above all, allowing the permission to move forward no matter what. Skylight, that's the perfect example. I can give you the possibilities. I can open up, say, your blindfolds. I can't force you to go to do anything about it, though. Okay. The more you listen, though, the more you'll get drawn into it. But that's not me pushing you. That's your higher self going, kicking you in the ass. Simple. That's the way it is. Okay. What do they say? You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink it. Same thing. I can lead you. I can open up the possibilities. You have to take the chance. Right? And that chance for some people is scary. And we'll talk about that when we come to the spiritual side. All right. All right. So day one of the THR Summit, we reset the foundation of health. We reset the foundations of health and wealth. Today we reset the foundations of love and meaning. Okay. Yesterday, we talked about performance, health, energy, success. And I'll talk about there's been a lot of comments on, well, this is just for, the wealthy and it's geared towards the wealthy. I talked a little bit about it, so go back and listen to that piece again. But I'll talk about just a little bit on why it is directed towards, say, the wealthy. Okay. All right. So all these things that we did yesterday, health, energy, success, that's the external architecture of a high performing life. Okay. Or you should have a high performing life. So if you're not into that, how do we get you into that space? How do we start getting you into that high performing life? Okay. But what happens is that there's something most optimization conversations, they just completely ignore. And that's the signal behind the life. So your relationships and your spiritual connections, that's what we're going to be talking about today. That's what most people they get confused. They think it's like, well, if I have wealth, then I should be okay. And they're not okay. People who are spiritual, they go, well, I don't have the wealth, but I think I'm okay. But I'm still sick and all that, but they're not okay either. So again, it's the thing. This is your capstone. It has to rise at one time. That's the key. It's not one or the other. Many people, not many, a few of you on this call are getting confused. You're still thinking them, us, and them. It's not that way. It's you. You have to be, again, elevated to all levels. That's what this is about. It's an integration of spirituality and wealth. Okay. All right, let's take a deep breath in. And like I said, you can optimize everything and still feel that something's missing, right? No matter if you're on the spiritual side or the wealth side, that's the problem. There's still something missing. And this is where spirituality actually belongs. Okay? It's not religion. It's not belief systems. It's not dogma. Spirituality is simply connection to your timeless intelligence. It's the signal that originally built the universe, the signal that built you. Do you notice that? Again, it's not been written down. It is the billions and billions of years of, say, advancement of evolution of science. But what happens is that most modern spirituality is literally just another coping strategy. They moved away from religions and, or if you're in a religion, that's fine too, but prayer, meditation to calm stress, right? If I do my prayer work, then God will take care of me. That ain't going to work. It ain't going to work, right? The spiritual side, they'll do meditations, they'll do breath work, right? To manage anxiety. That's fine. Practices designed to help people tolerate, say, a distorted system instead of correcting the system itself. That's the point. Religions, spirituality, wealth, all those things are literally management tools. No matter what you look at it, if your life is still hollow, they're empty, you're getting ill, you're aging like your parents, society, the same thing. It doesn't matter. Those are all tools, again, to tolerate a distorted system. It just makes you comfortable. What's that? Pink Floyd, comfortably numb. Right? That's basically what those tools do, no matter what you are. Relationships, many people in relationships, that's what we do. We get comfortably numb with our distortions. So in exponential intelligence, we approach this very differently. We don't teach people how to cope with distortion. We restore coherence. When coherence returns, and coherence is that connection to the original state of who you should be, right? The original blueprint of who you are, like I talked about in day one. But when coherence returns, relationships become effortless. Love stops feeling like work. How many of you out there, it's like, God, I have to sacrifice. I have to do this. I have to do that to have this relationship working. It's not a relationship. It's another job. And spirituality, well, once you do it right, spirituality becomes something you practice. It's not something you practice. It becomes something you live. That is the difference. Right? In relationships or even wealth or spirituality. Again, it's an outside, say, mechanism. XI is about bringing it in. It's about being who you are. It's about just knowing that you are of wealth. Right? It's about being. It's just knowing that you are of love. Not forcing, not needing, not compensation or not needing people to accept you, to love you. You just love yourself. But if you just do love yourself, literally, people will actually love you. Okay? All right. So the highest performing humans, from what we found out in history, all discovered the same thing. In fact, the higher success you have, the more alone it seems to get. Lonely, it's lonely at the top, right? They even coined a term behind it because they didn't know the science behind it. Success alone does not create fulfillment. I'll say that again. Success alone does not create fulfillment, but alignment does. Again, this is where people go, yep, it's lonely at the top. It's really not. Even if you're, say, an individual, even if you're alone, you should never be lonely, because at those higher levels, say like a Jesus and a Buddha, we'll get into that. Those individuals were never lonely. Right? They might have been alone. They were never lonely because there's so much information. It's just amazing. I've been there on my near-death experiences where it's just like, oh my God, I could just spend a lifetime just observing. And this is where individuals are. They are literally there and going, they don't need distractions. That's why they can meditate for days, for hours. They don't need food. That's what we're talking about here today. That's what higher levels of XI can get you. All right. So alignment. When I talk about alignment, right, those cornerstones, elevating all at the same time. That's what I'm talking about. So you align your mind, your body, your relationships, and the intelligence that created you. So you align your physicalness with your timelessness. And this isn't woo-woo stuff or anything like that. It is just literally connecting to the intelligence that rendered you here. Okay? So if you're that scientist or atheist and go, well, I don't believe it. Well, show me the proof. Well, you're alive. You look at all the miracles that happen to you that science can't explain. Simple. It's still there, right? We just can't explain it yet. That's it. Okay. Yesterday we talked about health and wealth, and after that session, a number of interesting questions came up. Questions like, why do some people work incredibly hard yet never seem to break through financially? Why do so many successful people build wealth but quietly sacrifice their health along the way? Why do some people achieve success yet feel like something is missing? Now, when I talk about success, it could be, it's not just money. Okay, you got to get that out of your mind. It's not just money. It's success in, say, creativity. A lot of starving artists. Why? You don't need to be starving to become creative, to become a genius, right? You don't need to be starving to become spiritual. In fact, that's the opposite. But that's what they teach you. So again, when I talk about success, it's success in all aspects, right? So they're great questions. And the cool thing about all that is that they all point to the same place, your internal architecture, which is why today we're going to talk about the hidden system behind your relationships. Let's take a deep breath in. I'll start getting into that. I'll help you get into that deeper states as we speak, and then we'll do hypermeditation. All right. Again, whether you're new, whether you don't know what's going on, just play along with me. It's all okay. You don't have to believe me. Just take a deep breath in and just notice your environment, notice your surrounding. All right. We'll slow it down a bit. We'll get into relationships. Today, we upgrade the system that determines who enters your life. We'll talk about something many, even the high performers, even those people who have it all, even those people who, are highly spiritual or religious as well, they quietly struggle with. Okay? Many become extremely good at building systems. Okay? No matter what it is, they become good at building systems, building an architecture of their life, right? Now, so on the surface, it might look like successful people having great lives. And this is the last time I'm going to stress it. It doesn't matter. You could be, I don't know, a priest. You could be a mullah. You could be the Dalai Lama, right? You could be a billionaire, a trillionaire. It doesn't fucking matter, guys. Get that out of your head. And what I'm seeing as I sense you all as a note, a lot of you are struggling with that. Okay? We'll work on that as we go through the system. It's all the same. Okay? Again, look at the people on the Epstein list. Right? On the outside, they're highly successful. It didn't matter where they got their success. Okay? On the outside, it looked like they had great lives. The business works. The money works. Spiritual practices worked. The lifestyles worked. But then behind the scenes, something else begins to break, right? Connection. Friendships. Friendships become transactional. Marriage becomes operational. Family becomes scheduled. Right? Date night, you have to set that in. I knew a woman, high-level individual, in the spiritual circle. She literally put in her schedule when to have sex with her husband. That's a tough one, right? Right? It just takes the romance out of it. And eventually, success becomes lonely. Look at Robin Williams, huge success. And his famous quote, I'm just paraphrasing, his famous quote was, it's really, really, it's more, and somebody can comment in, but basically it's like, it's really lonely when you have so many people around you and you feel all alone, right? That's when loneliness really hurts. But why is that? You have everything, right? You have your God, you have your money, you have everything. But why? And here's the deal. I talk about the ultra high net worth individuals because, well, I don't want you to make the same mistakes that they did. Those who are on the road to success, no matter what success means to you, think that when they arrive, their relationship problems will magically disappear. They don't. So the knowledge I'm sharing with you comes from thousands of individuals. Some on the spiritual side, some on the high net worth side. It doesn't really matter. It's not rehash therapy from AI or anything like that. Okay? It literally is brand new content, brand new information. So these are from, like I said, these are from real live sessions, and how they resolve them through private sessions and XI programs, such as Command, Grow Rich and Happy, for those who want to go beyond Think and Grow Rich. And of course, obviously the Total Human Reset program that we're about to launch again this year. Let me ask you a question though. What if, and close your eyes, breathe deep, let it settle in. Ready? What if the problem in your relationships was never love? People are always looking for love. But what if the problem in your relationships, and I'm not talking just about intimacy, intimate ones, I'm talking about, parental, your connection to God, however you define that. What if the problem in your relationship was never love, but the receptors you built to recognize it? So, what? Okay, thanks. It just takes a little bit. I don't know. Hopefully you guys can see that output. Okay. Yeah. So Robin, thanks, Alex. So Robin Williams, I used to think in life, the worst thing in life was feeling alone. But the worst thing is having people that make you feel alone. That's what I'm talking about. Thanks, Alex. So again, think of this. It's the receptors you built to recognize it. And I'll explain that. We'll move away from emotions and doing into straight out physics. Most people assume the problem is communication in relationships, right? But that's not the real issue from what I found out. Relationships don't fail because of communication problems. They fail because of signal misalignment. I'll explain that. So two people can say all the right things, and you've done that. So many people now say all the right things, right? But if their internal frequency is distorted, the connection slowly decays. That's the key. Why does everything look so perfect? Why do they look so perfect and then there's nothing inside? How many of you have gone through that, right? And then, you marry them and it's like, damn, everything was so perfect. Why do I feel so empty? Why do I feel a loss? That's why. And this is what we're explaining. The key here is that the more successful someone becomes, again, no matter which way you talk about it, okay, the worse this distortion often gets. It's because conventional success trains you to optimize everything except connection. In fact, you literally, and the reason why is because you sacrificed your internal essence of who you are, your internal presence of who you are to achieve what you got physically. Hence, there's nothing to feel here. You gave it all away. The Epstein files, they gave it all away. And this is where we begin the reset here. It's not by fixing the other person, but by restoring your signal. A lot of people come to me, it's like, hey, Moss, can you work on my spouse? It's like, yeah, let's work on you. Although I kindly say, oh yeah, let's work on your spouse. But I fix their signal, and then they become coherent, or they disconnect. Either way, it's a very fast turnaround. When your signal becomes coherent, this is where relationships change automatically. It's not through effort, it's through alignment. So I'm going to offer you a completely different perspective on relationships, okay? And see if you agree or disagree. Breathe in. As a note, if relationships aren't working out for you and you disagree, well, it might be wise to get a different perspective. Just saying, right? In exponential intelligence, we look at relationships like receptor cells. No emotions, no attraction, not beauty, not wealth, not culture. Those are surface signals. Again, very different, right? Very different than what you've been taught. And this is where most people get stuck. They get stuck just like, hey, he's talking about wealth. What about spirituality? Again, people get stuck on this. Again, this is where people get stuck. Traditional self-help, the concepts of marriage, they try to resolve relationships at that level, right? Beauty, money, intelligence, culture, religion. It doesn't work that way. Dating advice, psychology books, persuasion techniques, even communication strategies, even pickup strategies that people use, right? They all try to improve the surface layer. And sometimes, they work, but it's only temporary. But they rarely create, say, that lasting alignment. If you don't believe me, just look at society. We have more relationship advice than ever in history. Yet relationships are more fragile than ever. Have you noticed that? You can't say a word. Before they had, training, right? But even the tonality of the word, people are so fragile. Why? People should get stronger, but they're not. There's so much advice out there. But why is everything failing? So imagine something for a moment. Close your eyes. Take a breath in. If you're driving, don't listen. Don't close your eyes. Okay. Imagine that you're swimming in a sea of frequencies. Some of you actually feel it when you walk into a room. Right? You feel that, the empaths. So imagine the sea of frequencies. Well, you're swimming in them, right? Because in reality, you actually are. Think of it. Wi-Fi, radio, satellite, other people. In fact, bees navigate by frequencies to find the perfect flower. And we'll show you how to navigate human frequencies in the 90-day program. So imagine every environment you enter contains signals. You're always sending out vibes, whether you see it or not. You're at a party, a workplace, a grocery store. And you might notice someone because of their looks, someone else because of their intelligence. For some people, it's because they've got money or they've got fame, they've got status. Those are simply visible signals, but they're not the real driver of your attraction. They are the outcome of a deeper structure. And whether a relationship becomes fulfilling or slowly breaks down depends on what I'm about to share with you right now. So over the past 15 years, through more than 100,000 client sessions, I've observed a repeating pattern in human relationships. Like I said before, it's not actually about love. It's not about security. It's not even about compatibility. Those things are simply mechanisms the mind uses to fulfill a biological and energetic structure. And when that structure is misaligned, connection turns into something else. turns into cravings, it turns into attachment, it turns into dependency, or conflict, or abuse. Here's why. Breathe deep. Close your eyes if you'd like. Think about receptor cells in the body. So every receptor is designed for a specific chemical structure. Okay? For example, a magnesium receptor recognizes magnesium and nothing else. You know, you could place many different substances, as you eat, right? In front of it, in front of that magnesium receptor, it won't be attracted. But unless the chemical structure matches, right, the receptor simply ignores it. Imagine that. It will not, say, even visually see, even if it's right in front of you, you will not see if your chemical structure on the back end is not compatible. And here's the key. So magnesium can appear in many forms, right? Nuts, leafy greens, beans, different foods, different shapes, different appearances. In humans, it's the same thing, whether they're hot or not, wealthy, smart, caring, abusive, it doesn't matter. That receptor does not care what it looks like, what it smells like, or anything else. It only cares about one thing. Does it contain the chemical structure I'm designed for? I'll say that again. Does it contain the chemical structure I'm designed for? And you can try to force a different chemical into that receptor. Many of you have in your marriages and relationships. But what have you found out? It won't bind, right? It won't nourish, and it won't. And if the receptor itself is damaged or incorrectly formed, like many of us, then even when the right nutrition arrives, the body still can't absorb it. This is why someone can take supplements and still remain deficient. It's the same process. Here, I'll give you an example. Women who attached abuse to love. So the hand that fed them, the hand that took care of them, loved them, also abused them. Okay? They go out into, as they get older, they go out into society. They feel uncomfortable with somebody that actually loves them in a pure sense. Done that, okay? Or how many of you have loved somebody that came from an abusive background, and no matter how much love you poured into them, they couldn't accept it. Not because they're dumb, it's because their receptors were misaligned. Okay? How many of you out there broke up a relationship because, real love felt uncomfortable? The bad boy syndrome, right? A lot of women go after that. It's like the husband that provides, they can't stand that. So they'll have to go cheat. They'll have to, be abused by somebody else. This is what I'm talking about. So the receptor is the real issue. Relationships operate in a very, very similar way. Every human develops relationship receptors, and these receptors are shaped by 4 ingredients. You don't have to write this down, but just keep note of it. Genetics, generational patterns, societal conditioning, and life experiences. In the hypermeditation, we'll go through how those 4 has affected you. Right? So over time, these influences build a pattern of attraction. And this pattern determines who you notice, who you feel drawn to, who you bond with, and who you remain blind to. I hate to say it, but there's so many books out there that go, oh, trust your heart, trust your emotions, follow your dream. How many times have you done that and it hasn't worked out? Right? Well, because the control mechanism is not your emotions. Even if you try it, you can't control You can't control it because the underlying structure, the thing that really controls you, is the pattern, that program that I just talked about. So when people say, I always attract the wrong person, well, they're usually looking at the wrong level of the problem. They try to change behavior or improve communication or learn new relationship strategies. Or, they go from one person to the next to the next. Well, but none of those approaches address the real issue, the receptors, the programming. In XI, we work at that level, the level of the receptor and identity, and identify the pattern that was constructed through what we just talked about. Comment in if you remember the 4 ingredients that we just talked about. Genetics, generational patterns, societal conditioning, and life experiences. Now, I repeat this because once this hits home, once this concept hits home, if you do nothing else with me, it's totally fine. You'll start to see the pattern that I'm talking about. All right. So what we do is we restructure the receptor. And when the receptor changes, something remarkable happens. Your attraction patterns change. How many of you have done that already, right? You elevate your XIQ, your exponential intelligence quotient. People start, you detract the people that you don't need, right? Or you move away from the people that you don't need. And then you start attracting somebody different, right? A whole different crowd. That's what I'm talking about. Your attraction pattern change. Your emotional responses change because of that. So the type of people entering your life begins to change because your system is now recognizing a different signal. So you changed the system, right? Your emotions adapt to it. Does that make sense? Think of it like Wi-Fi. You can walk into a room with dozens of networks around you, right? But if your phone only connects to the ones it has the passwords for, right? The normal ones, well, that's what happens, right? Your phone only connects to the ones you have the password for, the receptor cells. You change the password, change the receptor cells, and suddenly you connect to a completely different network. Everyone thinks relationships are about love. They're not. They're about your receptors. I'm going to share with you the 6 relationship truths through the lens of XI, exponential intelligence. Truth 1. Success changes the signal around you when someone becomes, so success changes the signals around you. So when someone becomes successful, the signal around them change. Right? People become more interested, more attentive, more available, but it becomes harder to know. Are they attracted to you or to the signals around you? Money, status, lifestyle. Or are you attracted to those signals, surface level? So whether you became the successful person or whether you get attracted, again, look at the level of the signal that you're getting attracted to. Is it the surface level signals? Here's the XI lens. Your receptors determine which signal you recognize. If your receptors are tuned to surface signals, you'll attract people responding to those signals, not to your deeper alignment. So how XI resolves this is XI recalibrates the receptors that recognize alignment. So when that happens, you naturally attract people responding to who you are, not what you're trying to project. Think of it this way. People are sheep. This is what they teach you, Tony Robbins and so on. Imagine this, you're a sheep at home on the inside, but then you have to put a lion suit on to, hold a CEO summit. That's what most people are, right? People get attracted to 2 very different frequencies. And then you're wondering, it's like, why do I attract the wrong sort of people, right? Why are they always using me? It's like, well, you've separated yourself in 2 identities and you're exposing this frequency. That's why. Truth 2, success magnifies relationship patterns. Success doesn't fix relationship dynamics. It magnifies them. If your relationship receptors were built in chaos, like a lot of individuals who are in the spiritual movement, right? They became spiritual because they were frustrated. They were tormented. They grew up in chaos, and now they turned the spiritual path. Fortunately, their relationships, again, look at chaos. And like I said, success amplifies chaos. If they were built in alignment, success amplifies alignment. So if your success is based on tragedy and you went towards, say, the religious side, spirituality, now you're a huge teacher. I can name a ton of them, but I won't. Their personal relationships depends on how they created that success or why they went towards, say, spirituality or wealth. It doesn't matter. The XI lens here is that your receptors were formed through genetics, generational patterns, societal conditioning, life experiences. Those patterns determine who you feel drawn to. So how XI resolves this, XI restructures the receptor pattern. When the receptors changes, the type of relationships your system recognizes change as well. Simple. Truth 3, growth changes who you recognize as people. So growth changes who you recognize. So as people grow, their perspective changes, right? Many of you have done that through XI. Their energy changes. And sometimes the people that once connected with you no longer feel aligned. This happens a lot in XI. Again, a lot of the past pre-XI relationships were based on trauma, distortion, lack, sacrifice, and control. As you move away from those needs, those receptor cells, you start to nurture yourself. So the XI lens here is when your internal signal evolves, your receptors begin recognizing different frequencies of people. This is why growth often changes your social circles. And how XI resolves this is XI accelerates this recalibration. Instead of taking years, it could take days. Instead of relationships slowly falling out of alignment over years, or connecting if it's needed, your system quickly recognizes who it's aligned with, and then attracts you to that. Now, the key in the hyper meditations that we do in the 90 days is that we elevate you not to the person that you are. We usually identify or resonate with the person 5 versions higher than who you are currently. And people get attracted to that higher version. So in Command, Grow Rich and Happy, this is what we do for success, for spirituality. We don't work on, say, your current self, okay? The distorted version. We work on, say, the higher version of who you are. And people will attract to that higher version. They'll notice that higher version. They'll actually comment on the higher version, and you'll go, what? That's not me. So when that happens to you, even on this day 2, when that happens to you, they're seeing your potential, just like I do. I see your potential, and I help you draw towards it. So other people will actually be a motivator for you. Okay? All right. So truth 4, attention is not connection. This is really important. Most people are getting about, how many likes did I get? Did people answer my comments, my texts, all right away, right? So influence attracts attention, no doubt, but attention is not connection. Many successful individuals are surrounded by people. It's like Robin Williams, right? Yet feel deeply unseen or admired, respected. They might be, again, admired, respected, envied, but not truly known. A lot of movie stars, right? A lot of successful individuals, they feel that way. Now you know the reason why. The XI lens here is attention responds to external signals. Connection occurs when receptors recognize internal alignment. Most people are responding to, again, the outside external signals. And how XI resolves this, it recalibrates your receptors to recognize alignment. And when that happens, well, you begin attracting people who respond to your signal, not your image. But the cool thing about XI, okay, before we get into Truth 5, is that remember you were a sheep, but then you're a lion here, right? You're a gladiator. Well, in XI, this sheep heals itself, and you're just one version, which is crazy, right? There's no separation of self. Your wealth, no matter what it is, becomes you. They look at you and they see the same signal. This is where intimate relationships, they get attracted to the flash. But then as that person connects, as that person knows more, they start to see the distorted version that most people are trying to cover up, right? All right, so here's Truth 5. The right relationship removes friction from life. The wrong relationships create friction. Energy drains, conflicts repeat, decisions become harder. But the right relationship does something different. It removes friction. Life moves with more clarity, more energy, more momentum. And the XI lens on how we do that is, well, we aligned receptors. Aligned receptors recognize compatibility. When that recognition occurs, the connection becomes effortless. It's not forced. And the way we do that, XI structures the receptors responsible for attraction and recognition. And when that happens, the system begins identifying relationships that naturally support your evolution. And throughout time, like I said earlier, right, there's no two of you. There's not the scared, distorted version, and then there's not the one that you show to public. Okay? This one heals. This one becomes real to you as well as everybody else. The fake version, the success version of who you are is fake. And this is where people get the imposter syndrome, right? People get, it's like, gosh, I'm falling in love. Imagine, close your eyes, take a breath in. You're liking somebody, right? Because you're liking what they're sending out. You know, what you're observing. And then as soon as you fall into love, what happens? All your weaknesses show up. It's like, oh my God, what do they find out? What if they don't like my parents? What if they found out about whatever, the abuse or whatever? It doesn't really matter. And then most people will justify it. They'll try to hide it from their spouses and all that. It's not about that. XI dictates, basically it says, hey, you're going to that next level of love. If you want love, then you have to get rid of all this stuff, all this baggage. If you don't, you carry that into love, and it's your choice. You carry that into love. Well, that baggage becomes destructive for you. Okay? In XI, we help you remove the baggage. We don't help you cover it up. It's like burying, dead bodies, right, in your basement. It doesn't, right? People bury their past in themselves. All right. And here's specifically for high wealth individuals or high status individuals, okay? Access is not attraction. When wealth, status, or influence increases, access increases. More invitations, more interest, more people wanting to be close. But then again, access can create a very confusing signal because it becomes difficult to tell, is someone attracted to you or the access around you? Epstein files. That's what I'm talking about. So in the XI lens, most people are unconsciously tuned to surface signals, right? Money, status, lifestyle, visibility, outside visibility. If your receptors were shaped to respond to those signals, you will naturally attract people responding to those same signals. Not because anyone is dishonest, but because their receptors recognize those frequencies. And I'll just explain this a bit. If you're focusing, if you're sending out, right? If you're sending out, hey, I want X, and you're always sending out what you want, right? You want access. Well, you'll also attract access in that distorted way as well. Okay? What you want access to might be different than what the person is attracting to you. Again, it's not because anybody is dishonest. So how XI resolves it is XI recalibrates the receptors responsible for attraction and recognition. So when your receptors become aligned with deeper coherence, instead of surface signals, something interesting happens. The people are attracted to status signals, they stop feeling interesting. And the people responding to alignment becomes much easier to recognize. Not because you're trying harder, but because your system is recognizing a different signal. Does that make sense for you? Okay. Imagine it. Imagine it. If you're building a fake self to support the wealth that you have, okay, and then people get attracted to that fake self, is it their problem or is it your problem? If your receptors are tuned to status, you'll attract people who want status. If your receptors are tuned to alignment, you'll attract people who recognize you. Relationships, they're not random. They follow patterns, and those patterns are determined by your receptors. You change the receptors, and the entire landscape of your relationships begin to change. So now with that framework in mind, let's look at some of the most important relationship questions most are asking today. Okay? We'll get into 4 and then we'll take a break and then we'll do a hyper meditation. All right. The 4 relationship questions, whether you're high performers, again, at any level. Question 1, how do I know if someone actually loves me or loves my lifestyle? We talked about it a bit. This is one of the biggest hidden anxieties of successful individuals. Right? They quietly wonder, would this person still be there? Will be here if the wealth disappeared? Okay? And if you're not wealthy, if you're attracted to those successful individuals for whatever reason, okay? Again, if whatever reason disappeared, would you still be attracted to them? Ask yourself that. On both sides, the successful individual, would they still love you? And the individual seeking the success, no matter what it is, would they still love you? Simple. Think of it. Would they still love you? Or another question is, do they love the access you provide, or do they love you? So in the XI lens, attraction follows, again, signals. Your receptors recognize. If your receptors are tuned to status signals, you'll attract people responding to status, not because anyone is dishonest. Let's take a deep breath in. Question 2, why do relationships seem to get harder the more successful you become? Or vice versa. If you're with a successful person, it's the same thing. Same coin, different sides. Many people assume success should make relationships easier, right? But they often don't. The opposite happens. Success increases options, visibility, attention, but connection becomes harder. Okay? In the XI lens, success amplifies the signals your receptors are already tuned into. Okay? So here's the deal. If you created your success or your spiritual movement, again, it doesn't really matter. If you used your essence, I call them your time coins that we talked about yesterday. If you're using your essence to become successful, and what you're doing is you're trying to find somebody that will nurture your essence. But then if you have no essence left, it's pretty hard to get nurtured or nurture. Get it? 3, why do I keep attracting the same type of relationship over and over again, right? Different faces, different personalities, but somehow the same dynamics repeat. Many people assume it's just bad luck, it's culture, it's a curse, it's family values, all that. And it could be. But again, it just goes back to your receptors. You didn't go deep enough into the rabbit hole to uncover the deeper pattern. So even when those patterns aren't healthy, the system chooses what it recognizes, not necessarily what it is best for. Right? It's just simple programming. Right? And this is where we restructure. We restructure the receptor cells. Question 4, how do I build a relationship that grows with me instead of holding me back? Here's the key. A lot of high performers evolve quickly. Right? New ideas, new environment, new responsibilities, new possibilities. And sometimes relationships struggle to keep up. Okay? So through the XI lens, growth changes your signal, obviously. Right? If your receptors remain calibrated to an older version of yourself, well, you continue recognizing relationships from the older pattern. So here's the deal. What happens is that you grew, again, the outside version of you that grew, became successful. The inside version is still stuck. Your receptors are still stuck. And then you go, why is this relationship dragging me? That relationship is not dragging you. You are seeing that you are dragging yourself. But again, we attach it to an external source. And this is where, you get divorced, you get disconnected, and you find a new relationship, right? And then they drag you. And then another relationship, and then they drag you. Or it could be another business deal. Again, the drag is you. The drag is you having two identities. It's simple. In XI, what we do is we merge the two together. We heal this version. We sacrifice the old self. We don't sacrifice the new version. And then as you attract, as you get higher, as you become more successful, either this person that you're with grows with you, right, because your receptors change, or they disconnect and you find somebody that actually does grow with you. So we'll take a 5-minute break and we'll dive into the XI hypermeditation to help you understand what type of receptors you are running. Welcome back. So a lot of great comments here. During day one, I felt a shift, but today I feel heavy. Is this a resistance from my old identity trying to survive the reset? Or is it deeper layers of debris coming up to be deleted? Actually, both. The good thing is that the heaviness that you're feeling, again, it's nothing new. It's you've already elevated yourself to a higher level of who you are. So imagine that you've had a heavy backpack, right, all your life. And then yesterday we go, hey, you've got that backpack. And now you noticed that you have the backpack. And then once you notice that you have that backpack on and you can do something about it, right? That's where things get really, really heavy for people. So this is where you start to spatial references. This is where you ask you, okay, that's the heaviness. How do I delete it? And that's what we're going to be doing in the 90 days. How do I delete it? How do I disconnect it to become a better, pure possible version of myself? And again, we go through all the logistics in the 90-day program. Okay. I can feel the abundance in the room, but I feel like I'm watching it rather than being it. What is the barrier between me and the frequency of wealth that we can drop today? Beautiful question, guys. Notice how they ask that question, okay? All right, so what you're experiencing, some of you, no matter what you're experiencing, is basically, think of it this way. You start to become the director of your life. Okay, it's called referencing, spatial referencing. You will start to observe the patterns that you're running. Okay, so in this situation, it's nothing new for you. If you look back in your life and just tapping into you, if you look back in your life, you've always been, say, the wallflower, the observer of life. You've never, say, interacted completely. Things seem kind of delayed for you. Like somebody tells you a joke and you get it a second or two later. Okay, that's a space-time issue that you might have. So in that case, now you're seeing it's like, oh, I'm out of time. Okay. And then you're an observer of your life. So now you're starting to see the underlying structure on how you are, say, creating the movie of your life, which is really good. Right? Sometimes it's fantastic, sometimes not so fantastic, but either or, it doesn't matter. You get to the level that you can actually do something about it now. Okay. This one, he's completely changed my life, deleted patterns that I could break out of, broke off depression, it changed the way I view myself and go out in the world. This list goes on and on. After day one, I slept, and in dreams, the intention I set for attending was my reality. No walker, no pan, no mobility impairment. I was at your workshop, healed. Beautiful. Oh, I remember this. Beautiful. Thank you. We get so many comments like this, and we could go on and on about that. If you'd like, if Megan can post, the link to the testimonials, guys. There's so many, fantastic transformations. Again, I don't claim to cure anybody, but what I do claim, and nobody else should either, but what I do claim is literally that I help you awaken your natural healing abilities. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and get comfortable. We'll drop in. All right, get into a nice deep meditation. Breathe. Start to notice your surroundings. You might actually feel the frequencies already, or as you worked into the workshop. And I know some of you, because of the time change, you're an hour late. Yeah, you can always listen to the replay. Totally fine. Take another deep breath in. Again, notice how you breathe. Are you breathing through the chest? Or are you breathing through the belly? You can breathe any way that you want, but just be an observer of your breath. Be an observer of your hands compared to your head. Be an observer of your feet. Just pay attention to you. We always want attention in relationships, but then you don't pay attention to yourself, right? You do your morning routine listening to the news or listening to something, not paying attention to who you really are. Take a deep breath in. Notice your surroundings. Audio, point on your body, any sounds around you. Your eyes are closed or open. Just notice what's around you, lighting, and then a point on your body, like your collarbone, your left foot. Inhale deeply, and then exhale sharper. Exhale. Just letting go of yesterday, the day before, last week, last month, last year, last lifetime. Let's just put that aside for now. If you want, you can come back to it and pick it up. But if you don't, it's just like that backpack example. If you don't want it, natural intelligence will take care of it. So notice the space around you now. Notice, say, the singularity or the completeness, the calmness, however you want to describe it. And notice that I didn't hypnotize you. I didn't guide you. I just asked you to be aware of your surroundings. Right? It's all about time and space. We talk about the science on the 90-day program. Today, I just want you to experience it. So as you pay attention to your surroundings, and then you pay attention to you, notice your spine. It will go deep into the bones. You've heard that saying. I know it deep in my bones. Right? Or in relationships. Right? It hurt me deep into the bones. Or you feel that great love, that immense potential of who you are, or the immense potential of somebody else, deep in your bones. Well, there's also a lot of memories that really aren't yours, deep in your bones. As you take a deep breath in, settling in, notice the frequencies. Deep in the bones, deep in your genetics, your receptors that we talked about. Go deep inside. Dig deeper. If you think you've arrived, breathe in and just ask, is there another layer deeper that I need to go to? And see how deep you can get today to uncovering, say, the original code of how you run relationships, of how you run your life. Most relationship advice focuses on strategies, communication, techniques, conflict resolutions. But strategies, again, only operate at the surface layer. What we're going here right now, we're going to recalibrate the signal behind your relationship. So as you dig deeper, you're safe. Some of you, as I sense you with my abilities, uncovering a lot of, say, maybe, a lot of pains of you, but then there are people who are uncovering a lot of pains unrecognizable because they're not your pains. They're genetic patterns, structures. And this is how your identity, your receptor cells of love or relationships have formed. Breathe. Notice what visual or feeling is showing up for you. They're not just random events. You didn't create them. They're not hallucinations. They're communications. The way we set this hypermeditation up is helping you access your higher version of who you are, your timeless self. And you don't have to believe it. You don't have to believe, go, where's the science? Just go through the process, okay? Let those filters that you think keep you safe, just put them aside, okay? They're not keeping you safe. They're keeping you insecure. I see a lot of that. So that's what we release. Breathe. This might be sensitive. Notice the triggers of your life. Those triggers are inadequacies that you are harboring, that you're holding on to. They're not you. They're your patterns, the programs. Be an observer of your inadequacies. Do you see the difference? When you start to separate the insecurities, the fear, the distortions, no matter where they came from, if you can separate that, and if you'd like, we'll do that right now. You start to realize, you start to heal those tragedies, the distortions. This is where your receptor cells change. Breathe. So notice, again, all that you're fearful of, all that you're scared of, your inadequate self, your ideas of who you are, your ideas of who you think people think you are, all those things. Just be an observer. Notice how easy it is for you to be an observer of yourself. Breathe. As I set the stage, notice how you are observing all those patterns. Notice that you are not those patterns. Congratulations. First step, noticing that you are not those patterns. As you notice those things that aren't you, breathe deep and answer this question. If that's not you, the distortions, the abuse patterns, the bad luck, all those things that you think you are, the wealth, the success, all those things, again, if that's not you, breathe in again, notice your spine. Then who is the one observing the not you? Feel it. It's not a mind trick. It's just layers of higher and higher versions of who you are. We're not healing the broken version. We're stepping you back from that experience so you can see that you're not broken. Breathe. We haven't even got to the good part yet. Again, take it in. Notice who you are without the image. This is who you are before society, before anybody told you who and what to be. This is your original blueprint. And I'm actually impressed that almost most of you, as I can sense, are in that zone. Congratulations. Imagine the deeper states in the 90 days. Breathe. Imagine yourself as, say, this magnet, a receptor cell. And we'll go down the 4. Your genetics, what you inherited from parents, grandparents, and so on. Is that into the mix? Is that into the ingredients on how you attract? Breathe. Notice where that feels in your bones or in your body. Notice generational patterns. Generation X, Generation Y, the baby boomers. How much of that is distorting or influencing who you magnetize, your receptor cell? Perhaps for a good number of you, notice the shape of your receptor cells. Is it morphing into a better version? Or is it distorted, confused? Well, you'll probably get distorted and confused relationships. But breathe. As we clean away, notice how that shape, however it shows up, don't try to change it, but notice how that shape is reforming itself to that original state. Breathe in. Societal patterns. What influences you today? Media. What's happening in the world today? Notice how that shapes that receptor cell. Let's just clean it out. Breathe. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. And last ingredient, your lifetime or previous lifetimes, if you believe in that. Breathe. Notice how that shape changes for you. Do you need to have those distorted perceptions, or can you leave that behind with your old self as well? It's all up to you. I'm just here to show you the possibilities. It's free will. You choose. You choose by actions. You choose by your decision right here, right now to go, yes, I want to be the best possible version of myself that I can today. Take a breath in. As we go deeper, imagine this. A good number of you are really good at doing the physical things. And that's how you achieve. That's how you move forward. So when I say the body heals, how does it feel? Let's go back to your childhood. Breathe. I'll take you back there. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Find yourself. It's not a mind state. It literally is a moment of time and space where you're still there. That little kid that had a handbook that saw and realized their potential. But then as they grew, Well, what happened? Parents tell you, be this way. Society tells you, be this way. Your generation tells you to do it this way. And then as you do it, your life experience says, look, I better do it this way or else. So this is just taking you back to your original code. Your body already knows how to heal it. It already has the genetic coding for you. It already has that genetic coding to become your best possible version of who you are. Breathe in. Notice your bones. I was going to ask you to imagine what love would be with the right receptors. I don't think it's an imagination. Notice how real it feels. We'll go just a bit deeper. Think about your past relationships, not just romantic relationships, friendships, business, partners, people you've trusted. And just go back, all the way back to your childhood. Do you notice a pattern? Different person, different personalities, different circumstances, but notice the pattern. Notice the algorithms. Notice the same dynamics that keep happening. Same type of conflicts, same emotional experiences, same outcomes. And this is where it gets tricky for some people, especially if you're running fear. You have to ask yourself, breathe in, notice your skeletal system, ask yourself, if the people are different, why does the pattern remain the same? And notice how you feel after asking that question. And that's where that's where everything begins to change. You change the receptor cells. The pattern is in the receptor cells. It's not on what you're wearing, the latest outfit, how much money you have. All those things are great to attract attention, to keep it, to love it, to be yourself, to grow and expand of who you should be, right? It's about receptor cells. Just going to leave you in this space. We'll take a short break, just about 2 minutes, guys, this time. 2 minutes. And then we'll unpack spirituality. It's going to be a good one. We are back. Commenting on how you're feeling. Pretty crazy, right? Pretty transformational. The key is that it's not a mindset issue. It's not a mindset trick. This is where you change the code and you literally will start running from it. Even if you don't do anything else, that's totally fine. But you will be very, very different. You'll see your life very, very different. In the 90 days, what we do is literally go, okay, now that I'm good, how much better can I get? This is what XI is really all about. Okay, XI is not about taking your whole life to heal. Have you ever noticed that all those other modalities, again, they're fantastic, they're needed. They're always about just continually fixing things, continually fixing things. XI is not about that. XI is like, okay, let's set you up straight. Let's get you going. Let's get you into that high performance mode of who you should be. And then so we can go out and explore the world. So imagine if society was like that. Would there be any wars? People are going, shit, we're really good. We don't need to control or, dominate or anything. We can dominate ourselves. And this is where we get expansive. This is where we can create technologies that don't destroy us. This is where everybody has, say, a level playing field to be their best potential self. No one's throwing down others or, oppressing others to make themselves feel good, whether it's in relationships, whether it's in money, whether it's in spirituality, whether it's in your health. That's what always happens, right? This is, again, leveling the playing field for everybody. Imagine that. Now, a lot of you missed it. We had some technical issues in the beginning. Alex, throw up an image of me. Now, that is me. I think it's a 10 or 12-year difference. Can't remember. But pretty crazy, right? It's not just the physical changes. It literally is the essence of who you are at a deep level. Again, your presence, the vibe that you're sending out. It's not just the carcass. It's not just the body. Right? And this might get a little sensitive, but when my mom passed, a very loving woman, and I went to the hospital and I saw her dead body, and I looked at her and I was like, "Where's my mom? That's not her." I was just seeing the vehicle, and that's the key. The presence is what changes. People change the vehicle of who they are, through makeup, through surgery, through whatever they do, through wealth, through spirituality. XI is about changing the driver inside, the presence inside. Okay. Some of you came late. Alec, can you play AJ's video? It's quite amazing. And again, there's a ton of testimonials on the XI, the XI code.
I've been doing Total Human Reset since 2022. And there's a reason I've been doing the Total Human Reset for so many years and look forward to it every year. And it's because I get such incredible results that I haven't gotten out of other programs. So I'll give you an example. For myself, I've gotten into programs, and the hardest part isn't the starting it for me. Like, I'll get the package, I'll follow everything to a T. That's just my personality. But the hardest part is getting about 2-3 weeks in and not seeing any change. And if you've ever been through something like that, I'm sure you understand what that feels like. So when I came into Total Human Reset, the first time I was a little nervous because I had been through these programs before. But the difference was when I went through the container and I was motivated in the beginning, that motivation stayed with me on a constant throughout the entire program. And I was seeing results. So there's something about knowing the frequency of the food, knowing the frequency of the workout, knowing the frequency of what Moz brings from the XI community that was like this holistic approach that truly changed who I am as a person and my energy levels and how it is my body was even transforming. So I saw those results, and that's the reason I stick with it. That's the reason I look forward to it every year. And I can't wait for the changes that are coming this year. So thanks so much, guys, for continuing this program. We appreciate you.
All righty, guys. All right, some of the structural questions is there a gap between the summit and the reset? Yes, it's 1 week. It gives you actually a chance to really understand, say, the intensity of the work, okay? And it also allows you to get a clearer thought, clearer an idea if the program is working for you, okay? Because we don't want everybody. We want those individuals that are going to actually make the effort, actually going to do what it takes, just like AJ did, right? Once you commit, again, you're going to change on the inside. But if you're not going to physically change on the outside, again, I can't do that for you. If you're not going to do that, then it's a waste of time for you and me. And this is where life becomes destructive, because this thing is pushing you along and you're just holding on to your old self. It's not good. It's not good for you. It's not good for us. The post-summit survey question, when will I receive the survey? It will be sent to your inbox tomorrow morning. Why do it? To move from feeling a change to quantifying it. It literally will help you understand the logic. Okay? It helps you identify which specific loops have been deleted and which ones still need a second phase, a pass. And we'll do that throughout the day. Again, this is a research study for those individuals who want to go deeper into healthy aging and rejuvenation. Please check that box and we'll get you more details. We'll have another group discussion on the details on that. It's very, very simple. The process, and then we'll get into spirituality, the 90-day. What you do is we have, and correct me if I'm wrong, Megan, but basically it's 2 hyper meditations just like this every week that we'll go through. So there's quite a few through the 90 days. And as you go through that, and the reason why some of you have been here before, it's like, I need more hyper meditations. Well, we've realized that you really don't. You need more integration time. Because what XI does, especially with, say, the intensity of the frequencies that I can generate for you now, what happens is that people need time to catch up. People need a breath. So if you did a hyper meditation every day, it's like doing surgery on you. You need that recovery time. The surgery is simple. Like, you're in the surgery room. It's an hour-long surgery. It might take you like a week to recover. Same thing here. Back in the day, we used to do hyper meditations every day. Okay. Yes, it worked, but people need to recover, and that's why we're doing it this way. But in the meantime, each day we'll send you out journaling notes, prompts, whatever that you need. So it's a full spectrum, and then throughout those times, you'll get health tips, exercise guidance, all those things along with you. Okay. Again, the intensity is immense, especially nowadays. Right? You don't need more. You need more recovery time. That's how potent this 90-day program will be for you. And for those who have gone through the potency, comment in. Okay. All right. So let's get back to spirituality. Let's take a deep breath in. We got to knock some stuff out of here for you all. So the source of, I say, every enlightened human in history, where that comes from, right? So, and that's what people are seeking, right? That source, that connection. Breathe in. We're going to connect you to that source. We're going to start that connection today. And you have to ask yourself, what is the source of every enlightened human in history? And as you look at it, you start to see it wasn't a religion. It wasn't a belief system. And it wasn't a spiritual technique. That alone basically disqualifies everything that you've known about spirituality. It's pretty intense. And this brings us to something important that needs to be cleaned up, so we can move into, well, something even deeper. Spirituality has nothing to do with religion. Spirituality has nothing to do with belief. And it definitely has nothing to do with escaping reality. It's got nothing to do with retreats and all those things that people do. I'm not saying that they're wrong. I'm not saying that they're right. But becoming spiritual is simply this. Spirituality simply means connection to the intelligence that created you. I'll say that again. Spirituality, it's the connection to the intelligence that created you. Long before religions existed, long before spiritual retreats existed, long before humans existed, there was an intelligence that took 14 billion years to create you. That's what spirituality, when you connect to that, despite whatever you practice, you have that euphoric feeling. The question is, how do you maintain that euphoric feeling? How do you operate from that level? That's what this portion is about. So throughout history, though, humans have created traditions and systems around spiritual experiences, right? Religions, practices, movements, philosophies, meditation traditions, prayer structures. And again, they're fine. Even modern explorations like plant medicines, even like AI, right? Having a consciousness, right? They're all attempts. All those attempts were originally pointing towards something real. And many of them had genuine origins. But then over time, most of these teachings became forms without the original source. And that's where the distortion begins. And that's where the distortion continues. Because one of the biggest problems I see in religion and spirituality is that most focus on the form of enlightenment, not the source of it. So let me explain. Millions of people, they practice meditation because of Buddha, right? Millions, or maybe billions. They practice meditation. How many of you do that? All right. Why do you do that? You practice the meditation, or you pray 5 times a day, or you go to church, or whatever. It doesn't matter. In this example, I'm using Buddha. Okay. To reach an enlightened state. Okay. But what if I told you that Buddha didn't meditate to become enlightened? He was enlightened, which allowed him to sit under the Bodhi tree for days meditating. Do you see the difference? The meditation was the physical expression of that state. It wasn't the cause of it. I think a lot of you go, oh shit, right? I can sense it. It's like, oh, that's what it is, right? The same patterns appear with many figures. Muhammad, he entered profound states while praying, but he didn't say create prayer in order to reach those states. He didn't sit down and go, okay, I'm going to go this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to stand up. No, the deep state came first, and then the form followed. And that's where the structure of that type of prayer emerged. And later, repeating the structure allowed him to access that state again and again and again. It's really similar to athletes or performers, right? When someone enters the zone, right, they later build routines that help them return to that state. Simple, right? It doesn't matter. But the routine didn't create the original brilliance. That's key. The routine didn't create the original brilliance. It simply helped them re-enter it. And that's the same pattern appears in Tai Chi. The original movements were not invented as exercise. They emerged from accessing deeper levels of consciousness. And then as that individual that accessed that level, the body simply followed the intelligence. And throughout the 90 days, will actually get you into this states where your body will literally start to do Tai Chi moves, right? And it'll look very elegant. Even with Jesus, he wasn't religious in the institutional sense, far from it. He didn't study religion in order to become enlightened. The connection existed first, the teachings followed. So even today, some people are born, a lot of people, some people are born with high access or with access to higher intelligence, access to the higher levels of that awareness that I'm talking about. They naturally act with integrity, compassion, clarity. Look at a kid. They're actually honest. They're actually compassionate. They actually have integrity until they grow up. What happened? It wasn't because of religion. A lot of great individuals who are just naturally kind, who are naturally ethical, or anything like that, it wasn't training. It wasn't because of religious or spiritual training. It was because their system is already connected. Ironically, those individuals then often become attracted to spiritual traditions later, spiritual movements, religious movements. But in many cases, the very practices that they adopted end up slowing them down. It's not because the practices were bad, but because the focus shifts to perfecting the form, perfecting the belief, perfecting the function, not connecting to the intelligence. So instead of accessing the source, people will spend decades. They'll spend decades perfecting technique, perfecting belief systems, perfecting rituals. And there's really nothing wrong with those things. I'm not saying move away from your religions. What I am saying is do it in proper form. Don't practice the form to connect to the intelligence. Practice the intelligence that takes you into the form. And then you can practice whatever you want. And even if you do it the reverse, like most people do, it's so damn slow. That is so slow. Look at your parents, look at your grandparents, look at you if you're doing the same thing, or the opposite of it. It hasn't changed. Look at society. Where would society, religions, they're crumbling. This is why the spiritual movement is expanding. But then, back then, say like Christianity was actually a spiritual movement back then. But then it turned into dogma, which turned it into a religion. So do you notice that pattern? A lot of those religions, Islam was a spiritual movement. Buddhism was a spiritual movement. They turned into a religion. Those religions didn't work, and we're seeing it today. So they're crumbling. And then now the spiritual movement is rising again, just to recreate the same damn cycle and turn into another religion. You want to break away from that. Right? Right. So XI approaches spirituality differently. So instead of starting with the form, we go directly to the source of consciousness itself. Simple. or it sounds simple, but with my abilities and through, again, the decades that I've been doing this, it'll make it simple for you. And as a note, many people ask, hey, Moss, do I have to have a near death? No, you don't. Okay, I can take you to that place. No problem. All right. So we take you to the source of the consciousness itself, directly to the source. No middleman, nothing. Not me, just you and then your original self, the original intelligence, the intelligence that generates the form. So here's the deal, just a little science. There's intelligence, there's function, and then there's form. Okay, physically, basically, it's a thought that creates function. How do I do this? That turns into, say, an invention, like the phone. Right? It always comes from a thought. So we just go to a higher level. The intelligence that created the function that created you. Simple. Okay. So when you do it from that frame of mind, and when you can access that level, the intelligence that creates the form, well, the rest just happens naturally. Your clarity emerges, ethics emerges, alignment emerges. And then the behaviors people try to practice, well, they become effortless. They just are you. If someone has to constantly try to be ethical, and you've seen that, right? They're trying to be nice. They're proving that they're nice people. Well, it just means that their system is still struggling with the opposite. That's it. This isn't criticism. It's just simply describing the physics of human consciousness. Think about talent in other areas of your life. Or think about the talented. Art, racing, music, finance. Practice helps refine their talent, right? Look at all the great individuals out there. My daughter and Alex, and they get into the racing, right? They're watching the F1. It's a hell of a lot of talent to go that fast and stay in control. But look at all the great talent that is out there. Michael Jordan, some of the greatest painters, greatest inventors, some of the greatest scientists. Okay. Here's the deal. Practice helped them refine talent, but practice alone doesn't create the original spark. If someone hasn't accessed the source of that talent, no amount of repetition will produce genius. You can get good, but not the genius level. And you see that in and out, especially with the Winter Olympics. There's something deeper that they connected with. It is not just practice. And you can see that when they get into that zone. It's like something else, their higher self takes over. That's what I'm talking about. That's intelligence, creating function, creating form through function. Here's the deal, though. The same is true spiritually. And this is a very, very important part. Spiritual connection, spiritual capacity is just not reserved for a few individuals, right? Every human has the ability to access it. Not just like talent, like racing talent or whatever. Everybody has, say, the talent to connect spiritually, no matter who you are, no matter where you are in life. Because spirituality isn't a belief. The way I see it, it's literally part of the system architecture that renders your existence here. It literally is the connection to your higher self. People have actually proven when people die, there's an essence that leaves you. That's that connection that creates you. So in some of the XIs, that is. All right, just give me a second, guys. Is this better? All right. All right. So check it out, hon. Sorry, guys. The mic is cutting out. Okay. So in XI's programs, some of the deeper level programs that I don't advertise because it's not for everybody. Okay, you literally have to get interviewed. Some of those programs, for example, accessing Buddhist states. This is when people began to access. I teach people to access these states, and they often encounter something very unexpected. It becomes the most confronting experience of their lives. Many of these individuals they're extremely successful. They've done 40 ayahuasca trips. They've done they've built companies. They've climbed mountains. They've traveled the world studying, with the teachers and those shamans and everybody. But when they encounter the intelligence behind their own existence, when I take them to that level, something happens. They see their origin with extraordinary clarity. And in that light, even the smallest distortions in their system become magnified. Not because they're bad people, because when the light becomes brighter, everything becomes more visible. My near deaths, they've allowed me to remove the distortions. I still have some, we all do. But the huge ones. And this is what I bring into the Total Human Reset. Total Human Reset introduces a much gentler version of the Buddhist state process, the near-death experiences that I've gone through, right? So XI spirituality isn't about, say, adopting beliefs. It's not telling you to do a tradition or a custom. If you want to do that, that's totally fine. But if you do it through, say, the XI platform, where you start to connect with the intelligence, and then your custom or tradition, whatever it is, it works a lot better, okay? Again, it's not about, say, adopting a belief system. I'm not here to change your beliefs, your perception towards anything. It's literally about restoring the connection you already initiated. It's about remembering how that connection was created in the first place. It's that connection that created you here. And when that connection becomes clear, whatever practices you choose, meditation, prayer, movement, reflection, gazing, they begin to work far more effectively. It's because they are now supported by coherence, your higher self. And this is why I often say something very simple. If a spiritual method claims to produce enlightenment, but the results are nowhere near what those great beings of history demonstrated, like a Buddha, a Jesus, a Muhammad, if you're not getting something close to what they're talking about, something in the method is incomplete. It's not criticism, guys. It's simply looking at the results. Simple. Because true spirituality is not about belief. It's about accessing the intelligence that created you. Okay? And why don't we just answer a few questions that many ask, but have never really gotten a real answer that can hold under the pressure test. This is, again, Sadhguru. He's got great, he's got a lot of people like that. Even Sadhguru, even Bashar, all those individuals, they're really fantastic people. They've got a lot of great knowledge, but they give you such broad answers. It's like, what can I attach it to? It's like, yeah, it sounds great. I mean, people read Stoicism. They read philosophy books. They study Sufism. All those things. Again, they're great, but they don't tell you how to get into those states. Again, they study the form, they study the outcome. XI is about getting you into that space. So question one, why do so many people practice spirituality for years but still feel stuck? So many people meditate for decades, they pray, they follow practices, attend retreats, study teachings, yet they feel like they're searching. How many of you are that? Right? Tell you in XI, right? So through the XI lens, most spiritual traditions focus on perfecting the form. Meditation techniques, prayer, you've seen those teachers, right? You're a little off with your hand and it's like, well, you got to move it right here. It's like, okay, that's really fantastic. Okay. But if you're connected to that higher source, your hand would be in the perfect position in the first place. No need to think about it. You just are. Like I said, most spiritual traditions focus on perfecting the form. Meditation techniques, prayer, structures, they all are practices. But the great enlightened humans in history, they didn't reach enlightenment through the form. The state came first, the practice came later. So XI focuses on accessing the source of consciousness itself. When that connection becomes clear, the form of spirituality begins working naturally. So instead of trying to create enlightenment, you begin operating from it. You just are enlightened. Why do spiritual practices sometimes make people feel peaceful temporarily, but not permanently? Well, yeah. Many people feel calm during meditation or after a retreat, but the feeling fades once they return to daily life, right? Once you get back, open that door, right, into your house, what happens? A lot of times people use retreats, use meditations to escape life, not correct life. So the XI lens, most spiritual practices, again, create temporary states of change. You change the outside surface, but they don't recalibrate the system. They don't recalibrate the system architecture of consciousness. So the system eventually returns to its previous pattern. Simple. It's not like some people go, well, if I just keep practicing the same thing over and over again, yeah, that works in physical things, physical movement. It works fantastically. But if you're practicing physical perfection without the connection, you're basically practicing not connecting even deeper. So XI works at that level of system architecture. Literally, we take you and I'll take you into hypermeditation. And then when that architecture changes, the state becomes stable. This is where you get peace, you get clarity and awareness. And they're no longer temporary experiences. How many of you have gone through that, where something might have created chaos in your life and you just go through it effortlessly? Not like you live in a fairy tale world, but you go through the problems of life, but you do it elegantly. Again, peace, stability, clarity, they become your baseline operating system. It's not something you escape into. Question 3, why do spiritual traditions sometimes become rigid belief systems? This is really key. Many spiritual traditions begin with profound insight, but over time they become rules, dogma, debates about belief. So when the original state of consciousness is lost, people begin preserving the form of the teaching. But form without source eventually becomes structure without life. Okay? Imagine that a loved one dies. Okay? They're dead. You hold on to the form. And I know it's grotesque, but there's people out there that freeze their spouses, right? And they take them out, have dinner with them. It's kind of crazy shit. But that's what people do. They literally, the consciousness is dead. It was long gone. It was never connected. And you're just creating, say, the carcass. And you're just trying to perfect the carcass. No matter how much you perfect the carcass, it will not come back to life. So it's sometimes never mind. Sometimes I get confused on how people start to see things. So what we do here is forget the carcass. XI returns directly to the source intelligence behind the teachings. And that's where, instead of debating belief systems, people access the consciousness that created the insight in the first place. Once you access that consciousness, the debates are null and void. You get to go, oh, that's what it's really about. No matter what you practice, you go, oh, did you experience that? It's like, yeah, because it is literally the same source. 4, is enlightenment something only a few rare individuals can experience? Okay. Many people believe enlightenment is reserved for saints, monks, or mystics, something only a few people achieve, right? No, not at all. Look at me. I'm neither one of those. No saint, no monk, no angel. The XI lens, spiritual connection is not, it's not a special talent. It's a part of the system architecture of being human. It's the intelligence that renders consciousness into physical form. Every human has access to it. If you didn't, you would not be here. Okay? The key is that XI helps you strengthen the signal. That's what's missing. There's a lot of blocks. Most people are running on, say, 1 bar or maybe a half a bar. The people on the Epstein files, no bars. That's what happens. So XI, you've already connected. XI is about cleaning the channel. So you're at 5, you're at 10 bars. And like I said, XI helps you restore that connection, not through belief, but through recalibrating the system that allows the consciousness to flow. It just keeps flowing for you. 5, if I'm already successful and disciplined, what does spirituality actually add to my life? And no matter where you are, right? People will go, well, you know, I'm leading a great meditation, you know, or I'm running $1 billion company. Doesn't matter. High performers often wonder this privately, though. They've already built companies, created wealth, achieved influence, created, say, mass meditation groups, prayer groups. The question becomes, what does spiritually actually improve, right? So through the XI lens, most high performers operate through strategy, discipline, and intelligence. These are powerful tools, but they still operate within the limits of the analytical mind, the form, the physicalness. Right? And this is why those people are asking the question in the first place. Spiritual connection allows you to access the natural intelligence. It's a deeper level of awareness that expands clarity, it expands your intuition, it expands your decision-making. This is where your, say, abundance, your wealth, no matter if you're a spiritual leader or, you know, a business leader or anything in between, it doesn't matter. This is where you connect to it and you feel that connection deep inside. XI reconnects individuals to the intelligence that exists beyond the ego and the analytical mind. And when that connection becomes clear, well, just think, decisions become faster, clarity increases, opportunities become easier to recognize. Success, it stops feeling like something you must constantly force, because that's what people do, right? You're literally constantly forcing to be that spiritual leader that people think that you are. You're literally constantly forcing to go, hey, look, I have this much money, therefore I have value. It's the same thing. So spirituality, XI spirituality, allows you to have that flow run through you. Your business, when you talk, when you make that deal, it enhances not just you, it enhances the environment, it enhances the people around you. It just doesn't put more money in your pocketbook. Spiritual people, you're actually sending out a clean resonance to help those individuals that follow you. Number 6, how do I know if a spiritual path is real or just another belief system? Again, many highly educated individuals, highly affluent in any section, struggle with this. They've seen countless teachings, books, retreats, philosophies, and many of them contradict each other. That's the problem. Science today contradicts each other. Okay, most spiritual traditions, including science, preserve forms of insight. Okay, that's what you're learning. And that was originally generated from higher states of consciousness, but over time, the original state is lost. What remains is the structure of the teachings, and that's it. So what XI does, again, helps you directly access the source of consciousness itself. So instead of asking people to believe in a teaching, XI basically helps individuals connect to that teaching yourself. You experience that intelligence that created the insight in the first place. This is what we're doing with Command Grow Rich. What Napoleon Hill tapped into, we're not reading through Napoleon Hill's definitions. I'm just going, hey, Napoleon Hill did a great job. He opened the pathway, but let's build our own pathway into that intelligence. The same thing with spirituality. Let's build your own pathway. There's no second man, there's no middle man, there's nothing. It's just you and your higher self. So, and when that connection becomes real, the question of belief basically disappears because the experience becomes, well, it becomes self-evident. There's no need to believe, you just are. Notice the sun, the sunset, the sunrise. Notice your breathing. Do you have to believe it for it to work? Or is it just something that is? That's what I'm talking about. Question 7, and this is where the question many people ask, especially the highly successful. After achieving success, why does life sometimes feel less meaningful instead of more? Right? Most successful individuals experience this moment. You know, they build wealth, they create influence, they achieve the goals they thought would define fulfillment. But after the excitement settles, a different feeling sometimes appears, a lot of times. A quiet question, is there, and it just gets louder and louder. Material success expands your external capacity, but meaning comes from alignment with the intelligence that created your existence. So when external success grows faster than internal alignment, the system experiences, a signal. It's a form of signal imbalance. It's basically what's happening here is that your internal coherence, that connection, your self essence of who you are, that individual, okay, that individual you sacrificed to create the wealth that you have. And now you're asking, and now you're not just asking. As you become successful, you look at the balance sheet and you look at how much your success actually cost you. Simple. It's accounting, right? People take a look at cost of goods sold, marketing expenses, and then they look at their net profits, okay? But they don't take into account the expense of their essence, their soul. I call it time coins in Command Go Rich. Okay? And THR will get into that as well. When people get close to death, they never go, I wish I would have built another company, another $1 billion. I wish I had another, 1 million more followers. I wish I would have helped more people. They get to start to see the counting of their life. They get to see what I call how many time coins that did they invest in or did they lose? That's what matters, is in the deathbed, you can see it in their faces, in their eyes. They are pondering. It's like, damn, I should have spent my time wisely connecting to the intelligence that created me, the original purpose of why you're here. And that's where the deeper meanings comes in. So XI reconnects individuals to that natural intelligence. That intelligence governs life itself. When that intelligence when that connection becomes clear, success feels like an accumulation of achievements. It stops being an accumulation of achievements, because that's what most people think, or accumulation of followers. And it actually starts to begin functioning as an expression of purpose and coherence. This is where wealth, leadership, creativity, and relationships, they all begin to align with a deeper intelligence, right? This is where all things around you, I call it 360 degrees of abundance, actually spherical abundance, all around you, you enhance. So spirituality is not about adopting beliefs. Spirituality is not about escaping success. It's about restoring your connection to the intelligence that created you. And once that connection becomes clear, success and consciousness evolve together. There's no separation. Life begins operating. Life begins operating with a completely different level of clarity. Now, there are many more questions like these. And in the Total Human Reset 90-day program, we go much, much deeper, not just answering the questions, but giving you the frequency behind those questions so you operate from them. You know, you can spend years studying spirituality, or you can access the source of it. Let's access it now. Okay, ready? All right, let's take a deep breath in. Get into this hypermeditation, and then we'll close it out for the day. This is great. Thank you for that. Aaron, I'm a shamanic practitioner, and since XI, everything is amplified and much clearer: peace, clarity, and awareness. Exactly. So whether you're a spiritual practitioner, an energy worker, a surgeon, a psychologist, a therapist, a financier, I'm not telling you to change your modality, change your career, and you've done all that. What we're doing here in the Total Human Reset is simply making you a better version of who you are, an optimal version of who you are, so you can do whatever that you do much easier, much more efficiently, without the baggage. Simple. So let's take a deep breath in. And notice how you just fall into those deeper states. Breathe. Observe your surroundings, 5 senses, point on your body. So anything visual in your chest. Notice the sounds, my voice. You could be wearing headphones, you could be listening to a speaker. It could be people around you, and then your body. Deep inhale. Holding that breath for just a second or two, or longer if you'd like. Whenever you're ready to exhale. Sharper exhale, just letting go. Everything, good or bad, doesn't really matter. Breathe. Some of you might take psychedelics, plant medicines, as I take you into the deeper states, because that's what you want, right? That connection to higher self, the oneness, the wholeness. I call it singularity, where there is no separation of you and your spirit, your higher self, your timeless self, as I call it. It's just a oneness. That's a spiritual moment for you. Go back and think of all those times where you had a spiritual breakthrough. Could have been a tragic moment where time stood still. It could have been a euphoric moment, just looking at nature. Notice how time starts to expand. It's you moving away from the density of time and space. Breathe. Nothing to do with beliefs, but just where your consciousness is observing you. Not going to get into all the details here. Help you experience it though. Breathe in. Another breath in. I'll take you into those deeper states. Those spiritual experiences. Those who have had near-death experiences might be a bit easier for you. Those who might have been in psychedelics, those who've done expanded, might be a bit easier for you. Breathe. Those who are fearful, it's totally safe. Your fear does not create safety for you. So let it go. You can always attach to it after. It'll be there for you. Breathe. Those who follow Jesus, those who follow Buddha, those who follow whoever, it's fine too. Let's just access the original source that they did. Bypassing the thousands of years of translation. Breathe. Notice how you're feeling. Notice as you escape. The boundaries of physical form. If you'd like, we can go deeper. If you don't, it's fine too. But for those who do, as you inhale, say, yes, I want to go deeper. Good number of you might be seeing or sensing and experiencing the dissolution of your body. You might be seeing frequencies. Some of you seeing different colors, different sounds that don't exist in this realm. Breathe. And let's see if we can expand you even more. You're not going anywhere. You didn't escape. You just expanded into a higher version of who you are. That's all. Unlike other modalities, including plant medicines, you escape. Notice that you're still quite aware of your surroundings, and at the same time, you're an expansive being, right? And that's the key. How can you see the physical reality from your expansive self? This is where success, health, relationships all connect. Spirituality, the cornerstone. Most people remove the spiritual aspect of their lives to create success, even in spiritual circles. Breathe. We'll go deeper yet. For those who choose. Breathe. Some of you experiencing the real teachings of your beliefs. If you'd like, you can integrate the real teachings of who you believe in, so you don't become a follower of the person. You become a follower of the intelligence that that person brought to physical form. You can do it too. Remember Jesus said, there'll be people that can do far greater things than what I can. He's talking about evolution, process of consciousness. Take a deep breath in. As you notice your surroundings, notice your body. Keep you locked into this space. All right. Some of the logistics, like I said, it's all on the website, guys. You do your own research. do your own feelings. Some of you asking, should I do, they've done SIGRA and THR, and we've got the XI woman. Yeah, THR, what that is it'll give you a construct of who you are, okay? So it creates a better version of you. It'll help you with your physical components, keeping you healthy, keeping your body vibrant, with nutrition, with exercise, with the deeper layers and deeper constructs. So whatever you do outside, SIGRA, the XI woman, okay, THR will just enhance that. It's just the same with anything else. You're practicing medicine, you're practicing energy work. It doesn't matter what you're doing on the outside, right? We're just making you a better version so you can use whatever that you're doing, whatever that you're practicing better. Okay. Let's take a deep breath in. Notice how you're feeling. Comment in. And as we end, there's a moment that happens to almost every individual, successful or not. A moment where, strategy works, the business worked, the wealth worked, spirituality worked, but something else didn't. The system that produced the success, it also produced the exhaustion, the disconnect, the loneliness. And that's where many people realize, the realization begins to appear. You just didn't build a life, build a business. You built an identity. An identity shaped by pressure, survival, expectations, proving something. And that identity, well, it was incredibly effective. It produced results, but it also came with a really high cost. A cost most people don't recognize until much later. Steve Jobs once said something most people misunderstood. Beautiful speech, by the way. He said, "Your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life." Now, most people thought he was talking about career. He wasn't. He was talking about identity. Because the hardest thing in life is it's not becoming successful at anything. The hardest thing in life is becoming yourself. Not the version your parents expected, not the version your industry rewarded you for, not the version your culture approved of, but your actual signal. And this is where the total human reset began. THR is not about fixing a broken person. In XI, you were never broken. It's about removing the distortions that kept you from operating at your natural intelligence. When that distortion clears, your health changes, clarity changes, relationships change. Your entire relationship to life changes. Not because you tried harder, because your system reset. Most people spend their lives becoming someone. Very few people ever become themselves. Total human reset exists for that moment. So if you're ready for that moment, join Total Human Reset. Thank you for being